Welcome back to the TruGolf Academy. You've joined me, Jon Watts, today at Branston Golf and Country Club. Today's video is going to be about the role of the hips in your golf swing. This is a really vital area to understand that's going to make you a lot more consistent as well as powerful. Stay tuned to find out more. As mentioned, today's video is going to be about the role of the hips. So I've got an exercise that is going to help you for the whole golf swings. This isn't just a part of it, the backswing, the downswing impact. This is going to be the whole golf swing, and really understanding what the hips are meant to be doing in your golf swing will help the rest of the frame of your golf swing. So i.e. what the upper body, the hands and the club ultimately are going to be doing. This is relevant before I get started with any golf club. It's a question I get a lot. I'm going to demonstrate this with a driver, but this is true with any golf club. And what I'm going to use as a visual aid here is just a tour stick that I'm going to pop through my belt loops so it's across my hips. Now, I'm just going to run through, and I have had the comment before, why would you show the faults, what we're not meant to do? Well, I think a good understanding, overall understanding of what's wrong, what's right, what you're trying to do and how you're going to try and do it is really going to help your game. So some of the faults that we see in the backswing is when we get too much lateral movement, slide off the golf ball, so our hips are moving in a very linear movement. The other fault that we might see is where actually our trail hip here is dipping down, our lead hip is dipping down too much towards the golf ball, and our pressure is more onto our lead side in more of a reverse pivot type of movement. So that's some faults we see on the backswing. Generally the downswing is the reverse. It's something as a compensation. So if we slide laterally this way, we've got to slide back. If we tilt this way, we've got to untilt. Now there should be some of that, but we don't want this excessive movement where all our pressure is onto our lead side in the backswing. And I think a big fault sometimes is the terminology people use in golf swings, you know, turn, turn. We are turning on a tilted axis. So we are not in a baseball movement here. We are creating some pelvic tilt. We are facing the golf ball, for, I guess for a lack of a better term here, and we're feeling our pressure quite even through our feet or slightly favouring balls of feet. But we're turning around a tilted axis. So what should be happening as we swing back is my trail hip and my trail shoulder are actually rising as they're turning. And now we've got to undo that movement. So I want you to think about this as more of a coiling movement or a spring. And I have filmed a video before talking about, or a couple of them at least, talking about coiling movements. And I always go back to a drill that I'd first heard from Pete Cowan, the spiral staircase exercise. And it's called the spiral staircase because we're going around and up, down and around. Okay, so we're going around and up, down and around. So it's the opposite movement on the downswing. So the role of our hips that this video is obviously about, this trail hip is going to be turning behind me and it's going to be rising slightly, but I'm still feeling the pressure into my trail leg here, my trail foot. So I want to feel most of my pressure, good 80% as I get to the top of the backswing, wound up onto the inside thigh here of my trail leg. But this hip is moving behind me and up. So it's not a real sliding movement off the golf ball. It's definitely more of a coiling movement. It's not just a turn. We are again turning on a tilted axis. So this trail hip is moving behind me and a little bit up. On the downswing, what it's got to do is move down and around. So as I get to a halfway down position, I've called this before centering the hips. So in this halfway down position, I know it's over too quickly in the full swing, but you'll see my hips are more centered. So they're between my feet here and my hips are more level. We are going into the impact zone here and through the ball where my lead hip now, so for me as a right-handed golfer, that's my left hip, is actually rising up and moving behind me. So again, it's the opposite movement. So I want you to do some real slow pace practice movements here. I'm not suggesting you think about this in a full pace golf swing. It'd be crazy. You would not be able to achieve it. But in other sports and other activities, we would actually practice the new movement slowly. We'd do it at home, in the garden, in the living room, maybe on the driving range, maybe at then half pace before building it into the golf swing. I don't expect you to be consciously thinking about these hips But if you have got a fault where you see too much sliding movement here, or you're not feeling like you're applying the pressure correctly to that trail foot on the backswing, or you're just not generating enough speed, this is going to be vital for you. So we're going to just do it slowly. Now, whether you've got the club across your shoulders or are holding it properly doesn't bother me. But on the backswing, what we're going to be getting the feeling of is my trail hip, my right hip moving behind me and a little bit up, so rising here. Of course, as that happens, as my hip rises, this knee will lose a little bit of its straightness. So the knee is it's not going to be locking backwards, although I can show you lots of elite golfers like a Sam Snead who did get that leg straight, or even a Bubba Watson now. So don't try and feel like we've got to keep flexing that. It is going to straighten a little bit as this hip moves behind me and up. Okay, I can feel the pressure onto the inside edge of my trail thigh. We're going to be now going down and back to square, to center these hips before my lead hip now rises up and turns behind me. So let's put that into a little golf swing movement. My trail hip is moving behind me and up, back to square, back to centered, before my lead hip is moving up and to the left. So I'm creating more of a coiling movement where my hips are doing this. They're turning on a tilted axis. My trail hip is moving up and behind me, back to its original position, and then my lead hip is moving up and behind me here. So we're creating this pelvic angle. We're not creating this sort of movement in the golf swing. So just doing some slow pace exercises is really going to help you. I'm just going to try and actually hit one, but just doing that real slow pace movement. So I'm not only going to be tapping this ball, and then I'll try and hit a fuller pace one, of course, without thinking about it too much. So backswing movement, that trail hip moving behind me and up, back to its original position, and now it's my lead hip up and to the left. And what you'll see as this moves up and to the left is my hips are opening, my chest is extending, my lead leg is straightening. All the things we really want to try and create an impact. There is an upward movement, there is extension of our lead side, but of course it's happening here into impact, not here on the start of the downswing. And that's a real vital part. We've got to do it at the right point. So let me just tap one down there, just going through that motion. So just doing some real slow pace swings. I managed to carry the water as well, or jump over the water at least. But that really felt like I got that trail hip moving correctly in the backswing and that lead hip moving correctly in the downswing. So real slow pace exercises, much more at home to start with. Let me go ahead and see if I can just hit one now. And I'm not going to be conscious about it. I'll have done the drills and the exercises. That felt really solid. Good strike, good ball flight. Really got that sensation, having done those exercises, that my hips were coiling rather than sliding there. So it's a great move if you can understand what the hips are doing. As I said, I'm not suggesting you take this to the golf course straight away. I want you to do some slow exercises to drum in the correct feelings and movements here of what the hips should be doing in your golf swing. If you did enjoy the content video, make sure you subscribe to the channel. It is for free, and there's new content every Tuesday and Thursday, as well as some Saturday specials to keep your eye out for. Thanks guys, we'll see you soon.